Welcome back. This is a story called LSAT. LSAT stands for Law School Admissions Test. Anyone who applies to law school anywhere in the country has to take this test, Law School Admission Test. It's kind of like the SAT for law school. When I decided to go to law school and take the LSAT, I signed up for a class run by a company called Kaplan or Stanley Kaplan. It was like a 2-month class. It met once a week, and it cost like $800 to take this class. But I knew that you have to take the class before you can take the exam. You can't just walk in and take the exam cold. And I went to the class and I studied and I worked hard, and then I decided not to take the LSAT, and I pushed it off because they give it twice a year, June and February. So I was supposed to take it in June, and then I said, no, I'm not ready, so I'll take it in February. Once you've taken the class, you're allowed to take the class as much as you want. So I took the class over again. So I took the test. I took the LSAT, and there's different sections and everything. The hardest section they refer to as logic games. In logic games, they give you a list of facts, of fact patterns, and then they ask you a bunch of questions based on these. So it's kind of mathematical. It's not really math, but you're using the same kind of thought processes to deduct what happens under these certain circumstances. And I'm going to give you an example of one of the questions that was on the test. It was about computers, and it talked about 3 different computer languages, A, B, and C, and that there were computers who were located in different rooms in a building. So a computer talking from language C is located in building A and can communicate with people who speak the language B, on and on like that. Very, very complicated. You had to connect all these different facts about the computers and the rooms to come up with the answer. So like, for example, a question would be, if computer A was in room 2 talking to computer B, which of the following is possible? And they give you the answers. Very difficult question. One of the things they teach you in the Kaplan course, the LSAT course, is if you don't know the answer, guess, because they don't count guesses against you. So if you guess wrong, it's not going to lower your score. It's not going to raise your score, but it's not going to lower your score. Different from other tests like the LSAT, the SAT. On the SAT, if you get the question wrong, it counts against you. So the strategy is, if you don't know the answer, guess. And this was at the end of the test. I'd been there for 3 hours. I was exhausted mentally. And I read this question about the computers and the computer languages and the buildings and everything else. And I couldn't do it. I could not comprehend any of it. And there are 5 questions. There are 5 different questions related to each fact pattern. So I guessed. I used guessing strategy. I just randomly picked, A, B, C, D, or E. When the test is graded, they send you a copy of the test. They don't use the same test questions twice because people could, share that information. So after the test, when I got my score, they sent me the actual test back with my score, and I was able to compare my score to each question. On that one question about the computers, I guessed on 5 questions. I just guessed, randomly guessed. I got 4 out of 5 correct, okay, which is completely unheard of statistically. My total score was a 45. The highest score you could get in those days was a 48. They've changed the scoring since then. But anything over 35 would get you into law school. Anything over 40 would get you into a good law school. And when you're in the high 40s, you can get into the best law schools. So here I am. I got this test back. My score at 45 put me in the top 2 percentile. The top 2 percentile of the entire country of people who had taken the test at that time. And with that, I applied to some of the top law schools in America, because the theory is you're supposed to go to the best law school you can get into. I disagree with that now that I'm a lawyer, but we won't get into that. But at the time, the conventional wisdom was go to the best law school you can get into. And I applied to NYU, New York University Law School, and I got in. I was accepted at NYU, which was the number 5 law school in the country. I ended up not going there. I ended up at Boston College, which was ranked like 14th at that time, and that turned out to be a good decision. When I got to Boston College, I was in the career office one day, and somebody had put in a flyer into this book about employment, and somebody said that they were a teacher. They taught the LSAT. A student put that in there, saying that's a good thing to do if you want to make some extra money. So I did, and I began teaching the LSAT because I did so well on it. And I did that in Boston while I was in law school. And then when I moved to Florida, I continued to teach in Orlando. And that's where I met Jennifer Michael and Dan Newland, who everyone knows. Dan Newland is on TV in Orlando. He's a lawyer. And that's the story of the LSAT. Don't forget to read my book, Broccoli Time by Dante Allen, available now on Amazon Books.